Welcome to the Reflection Project. I'm your host, Bree, here with my co-host and lovely husband, Ryan.
Hello.
I feel like we just have to preface this and tell everybody why we are so delayed. Aside from just life events happening and the tech part of this. So, for the record, so everyone knows, we have been doing all of this ourselves. We are not IT, we are not, when it comes to the computers and sound and video, that's not up our alley. So it has been a ton of trial and error to set us behind, which also explains why this pilot is going to just be sole audio. There will be no video behind this. So, everybody, welcome. Just kind of behind the why we're starting the podcast, not just because of our journeys, but as everyone knows, this podcast is going to be about mental health. And mental health is something that I didn't even realize made up a lot of who I am or who we are as individuals until I was 24 years old and pregnant and divorced and, just after everything that's happened, even within, since then, there's just so much to tell and so much I've learned, whether it was through therapy, just my own research, experiences, things like that. So just a disclaimer too, we are not licensed professionals, but there's going to be some conversations had that are based off of real life experiences. It's not only, we don't want to open doors up to our past or try to dig up old things that have happened, but kind of just sharing it with the world, I think would be closing some doors that we may not realize are still open. So this is me about, our journey, our personal growth, and of course anyone who wants to come on and chat with us, whether it's from, personal experiences or, professionals. I have a couple of individuals that want to come on here regarding, there's a psychiatrist that works in the Army and specializes in behavioral health. Huge advocate for women as well, so that'll be awesome to get her on here, and then just a couple other friends that have experience in the field, to kind of take some learning pieces from. I'm pretty excited. A big thing that's going to be talked about, of course, again, personal experience. I want to highlight on that a little bit. So when we're discussing things, there's going to be people that know us, people that did know us, people that, don't realize or don't know of all the things that we're about to share. So when we're telling stories, whether or not you know of them or not, it's going to be from our perspective, our experience. I know there's that saying that there's two sides or, to every story, or there's three sides to every story is a big one. There's yours, mine, and the truth.
Yeah, I think we're going to try to hide identities as well as we can. Yeah. Also.
This is not to throw people under the bus.
Some of them are going to be pretty obvious. Yeah. People who know us.
Probably. But yeah, we're not trying to blame anybody. We're at a point in our lives where we found peace and we're calm and we're accepting of just everything that we've gone through, whether, it was inflicted upon us or self-inflicted. And it's really just to share the fact that people are capable of change, and in such a good way. In saying that, I know not just myself, but there's going to be listeners that once knew me or know people that are coming on here. So if you happen to be one of those people that either were a part of or know said story, and it's, that didn't happen that way, or that didn't go that way, or, you were on the other side of said, story. It's different for everybody. The way that I perceive things is not going to be the same as, you sitting right next to me. So, in saying that, I will be getting insanely honest and uncomfortable with my past. I have a ton of friends, colleagues, just people that are really excited to hear the podcast and what we're going to talk about and learn a little about me. And again, this is not to blame people or even blame myself. for things that I have done. It's taken a lot of time to fight that guilt, and forgiveness is a really hard concept, let alone
especially self-forgiveness.
I was just gonna say, especially learning to forgive yourself. There's I still think about past things that either I've done or things that happened, and it's wild that I still feel like guilt when I think about those things. But then once I get through that thought process, I'm like, you know what? Deep breath. I'm good. I can't go back and change it. I can, only worry about what I can control right now. You taught me that. Don't worry about, stress about things that we can control. So what inspired us to start the reflection project? One kind of a hobby. I mean, Ryan and I, he's my inspiration behind so much. And just, I don't know, I learn something about you every day. So I think just sharing, again, just talking about our stories. A few years ago, I was down on the border mission. And that was probably the deepest self-reflection I've ever had on the mental. That was a ton of work being put in during that time after current events. And just with all of the experience I've had from childhood trauma to the military, to relationships. And I think there's just so many people that are going through life that have either experienced that or don't know they have, and blame themselves or, blame others, or can't understand, accountability in any direction regarding that. So I think it's really important to share. And I mean, we're not going to just be Debbie Downers on the podcast. I mean, we're going to talk about fun things, and, we're going to take questions and concerns and, things like that. So it'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be fun. And I think it'll be very beneficial, especially in talking about release schedules. We're obviously a couple of months behind schedule. I think right now we're just gonna again, we're a family of 6. We've got 4 kids that are in all of the activities. We both work. I'm currently in grad school. Having surgery in a couple weeks. That'll kind of keep me out a little bit for about 5 weeks. So we're gonna record some content before then. We'll definitely, like I said, answer any questions and things like that on socials. And then, just to kind of go into the podcast structure, really. So, again, everyone has a story. Episodes, we're going to talk about everything. So, trauma, struggles, whether it was then or now, any abuse, experiencing, healing, all of it. Like I said, it's going to get really raw and very real. We will do interviews. So if people want to tell their stories, come on and tell their stories. It doesn't have to be a video podcast either. It can be all audio. You can always send in your stories as well. I'll have my email address down below, or you can send them to us through social media. Letters. We can do letters too.
Yeah.
If you want to write a letter and send it to us. So, yeah. I think just all in all, it's a really brave and risky concept, thinking about telling the world your story. And thinking about it. I know. What did you ask me a few months ago? We were on our way to a kids' event.
I was just talking about just being ready for trolls and people having way more bravery to talk terrible about people when it's not to their face.
Agree. And again, that's kind of just going back to the brave and risky concept.
People who don't even know you are going to see this and think that they can speak up.
Right. I think, from a me personal standpoint, or just people coming on in general? Because I think it's going to go both ways probably.
Yeah, in general, but I'm personally more worried about you.
I would say I'm aware, and I care what people think of me because I want to carry myself well. And I would like to think of myself as a genuine, real person. Who I was up until even like a few years ago is not who I am now. It's still taking a lot of work, a lot of just self-reflection, and like we mentioned, forgiveness and all of that. But I will say from my standpoint, we're going to talk about like self-sabotage and, all of that in the next episode, actually, because we're just going to jump right into it next episode. But nobody can hurt me as much as I've hurt myself. And just to think, again, you guys are all going to find out so much about me in the next episode. So I would be lying if I didn't say I was nervous. But again, I think it is finally closing that door. It's everybody hearing my side, the good, bad, the ugly, the worst. So if people want to get on the internet and say, oh my gosh, you're such a piece, or you're a horrible person, or who could ever want to be with someone like that? Though I still have those thoughts sometimes, like, but I have done so much to myself, and I've caused, and it just inflicted so much hurt upon myself by my actions and who I was, that caused the most hurt that I've ever experienced. And there's nobody in this world that can make me feel the way that I ever have. So, if you're out there listening and you think you've got something, fancy to say on the internet to try to hurt me, you can go ahead. I mean, it's freedom of speech, let her rip. But
I don't think it's going to be anything compared to the feeling of peace you get getting stuff off your chest like that.
Yeah.
And, I find it really cathartic being truthful. Just, I mean, a lot of people don't like that.
No.
From me.
Yeah. I think though too, just the feeling of just like the release of it all is gonna just overpower what anybody could say or do. And just, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh yeah, well, that's nothing compared to that's not like what I'm trying to say at all.
Yeah, it's not a competition.
It's definitely not. I think, like you said, just the release of everything is gonna just overpower everything. Again, this is all for good cause, with good intention. It's not to hurt anybody, to make anyone look or sound like a bad person. There's just been so many decisions that I've made, as mentioned, that have hurt me in so many ways that I'm not that person. So I don't think that, you do bad things or you did bad things doesn't make you a bad person, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It made more sense in my mind.
Yeah, I think just bad people don't learn from their mistakes and refuse to take responsibility for their actions.
And that even of itself, trying to grasp that accountability.
Yeah.
I mean, I always knew accountability as a word, but the actual meaning and relating to it. And I learned that in therapy a few years ago, is you can blame yourself all you want to, but once you actually take accountability for your actions or things that you said or did or who you were as a person, you can't move on until you do that. And then that's where that concept of forgiveness comes into.
Yeah.
So we hope to see as much participation for sure. If you feel like you have things that you want to say or talk about or discuss that are in disagreements, with us, Ryan loves to debate. So we're also going to be very open to debate topics. We would like to stay away from politics and religion. Again, we don't want our podcast to be based off of those two things. It's
really hard to get off on a tangent on those two subjects.
It really
you can't
is.
Find your way back.
And that's not what we're doing. We are discussing our journeys, our mental health, who we are as people, coping, all of the things.
Maybe someday I'll start my own podcast on those subjects. We'll advertise that.
Yeah, absolutely. where there was because it was one of the questions, I'll read them off. I will keep them anonymous for now because I wasn't able to get clarification. One of them was just like we had already addressed. What's going to happen if someone who knows you comes on and says you were wrong or you're lying about anything? So, and that's a short synopsis of what the actual question was. And again, just this is anybody else's experiences from their own perspective. Like we said, my experience in going through something is different than Ryan's. I think a good example that actually just came to mind saying that was the first time I went hiking with Ryan. we were in the desert and we were up top on this hilltop, and we were climbing down from the rocks, and I lost my footing and slipped and went rolling down, and Ryan starts laughing and then he falls down.
I mean, it wasn't that far.
See?
Like
different.
We say it was, we joke that was like fell down a mountain, but.
Oh, yeah, no, but like in this instance, I'm not, yeah. Again, different perspective. No, we didn't fall all the way down the mountain. It was sliding down a few feet. Those bruises were awesome. But when we're telling that story, though, I tell it from my perspective and my experience, and you tell it from yours. Mm-hmm. So that's just something I think about and thought it'd be fun to share. Yeah. He did ask, "Are you okay? Like, please tell me you're good." And I will say, since it was the first hike, I wanted to cry so bad. I was in so much pain. I'm like, no, I can't let him see me cry. I can't let him think I'm a wuss. Even though I just took so many rocks to my body. Yeah. So, yeah, if you want to, or anybody, sorry, I should say to our listeners, if anybody wants to come on and, talk about the things. Like, did you go through something and how did you cope with it? How did you overcome that? We're going to have a crazy amount of topics discussed. Everything, how mental health essentially relates to everything: family, holidays, events, death, military, work, school, like everything. Like, we're going to be talking about all the things, relationships, all of it. So I'm nervous, but I'm really excited. There's people going through things. We probably have friends or family that are going through things that either we have gone through or are going through. Yeah. So it's really having mental health, issues can cause loneliness. From what I've read, is that loneliness is a big one because no one can, make you feel better. It's how are you going to be better? How can you make yourself feel better, or be better and do better? So I think just hearing a lot of different stories and perspectives on things will be awesome.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. So next week, did you have before that, do you have anything that you want to?
No, I'm your trusty sidekick here. And you're not my sidekick. Guiding me.
You don't talk a lot anyways. Those that know Ryan, he's not a huge talker, but I don't know. He is the best person to bounce ideas off of or to carry conversation with. He thinks about things that I don't think about, or he'll ask questions that I don't think about addressing, regardless of what the topic is. So
yeah, no, I've always, the mindset, it's really important just to listen to people, and you'll learn so much just by listening. And I try to tell the kids the same thing. Like, you don't always have to be talking, just listen. You'll get a lot more from listening.
Soak it in. I like that. I like it. Yeah, so next week we will be digging into childhood trauma and the damage that can come from that. I did not understand the concept of childhood trauma. I didn't even know that it was a thing unless you were, really like physically or, noticeably abused. But there's so much more that comes from childhood trauma, because you can't sit here and say that, oh, that's not trauma, that was just something that you experienced. So defining trauma is going to be a really big one, next episode that we record. And yeah, I don't know. You guys are gonna find out a lot about me, and it's gonna get really interesting. So stay tuned. You can find and listen first on Spotify at The Reflection Project. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and Instagram to stay up to date on news, information, and episode content. We're really excited for this project, and we will talk with you guys soon.